What's up, beautiful people? Welcome to the Dr. Joy Show, your prescription for total wellness, and I'm your host, Dr. Joy. Today's topic is going to blow your mind. This topic is for men, women, parents-to-be. So everybody can get information from my guest here. We're going to talk about circumcision. Yeah, no, I'm not doing it. But my guest knows a lot about it. But before we get started, you know what we do on the Dr. Joy Show. We take it down with 3 deep breaths. Are you ready? Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale. How do you feel? I know I feel great. Let's get right to it. Welcome, Anthony LaSquadra, to the Dr. Joy Show.
Dr. Joy, thank you so much for having me on your show.
So, tell me a little bit about you.
Well, I've been an advocate in helping people learn more about the issues of circumcision and foreskin for over 10 years. And, I find Americans really don't have the information that they need. And that's part of my mission is to help educate them.
So how did you decide to do that?
Well, in different parts of my life, I started to discover things that didn't make a lot of sense to me. Mm-hmm. For instance, when I was a young boy, I went to Italy. I went to Florence, Italy, and I looked at the statues done by the Renaissance artists, like Michelangelo, for instance.
Right.
And these statues were supposed to depict the human form in its most perfect and symmetrical way. And these statues all had intact penises. But yet Americans had cut penises. And I said, why is there a difference here? And nobody seemed to have an answer.
And so that started you on your research, and your company is called Intact?
Intaction. We're a nonprofit organization based in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And our mission is purely an educational one to help people, to give people information that they really need.
So, are you against circumcision or what?
I'm for foreskin. Foreskin is an awesome anatomical feature. Do you know the foreskin has 4 powers, what we call 4 powers? It has pleasure, protection, lubrication, and connection. It offers so much, and Americans are so unaware of it, but yet they're in their own bubble because the rest of the world already gets it, and most of the world is to keep their men intact.
Okay. All right, but so we're talking about circumcision specifically for men. You also are aware that they do circumcision in some countries for women, too.
They do. As a matter of fact, they even do it in the United States.
What?
There's some cases where doctors in Michigan were circumcising young girls at the request of their parents as a religious procedure. Mm-hmm. And, there was a federal law that prohibited that. And these doctors were brought up on charges, and the case just went to court, and the judge struck the law down as unconstitutional. So we have a big problem.
Okay, so I'm going to go there. Facts from WebMD, because I'm going to cite the source. They say that the pros of circumcision are, and I'm sure you know, right, against disease. It happens at birth for boys. Decrease risk of urinary tract infections, reduced risk of some sexually transmitted diseases, and there's a plethora of those, and protection against penile cancer. What do you think?
Let's unpack all of that. First of all, understand your source. WebMD is a website that sells advertising, so they tend to regurgitate the status quo.
Okay.
You have to realize that there's no medical association in the world that recommends infant circumcision for health benefits, and more than 20 medical associations around the world, including Canada, UK, France, Belgium, Australia, specifically do not recommend it, and they strongly discourage it because the health benefits are just not there. Now, when you spoke about things like penile cancer, that disease is so rare, okay? And if you wash your genitals once in a while, there is no difference in medical statistics in getting penile cancer between intact men and circumcised men.
Okay, so what about now Jewish religion, rabbis circumcising boys like 2 days after they're born?
Yeah, actually, it's 8 days.
8 days, okay.
8 days. But you have to realize, well, Jews and Muslims practice circumcision as part of their faith. But you
Okay.
have to realize that's a small minority of what goes on in the United States.
Okay.
The vast majority, more than 90%, are done by doctors in hospitals for social or purported health benefits or cultural reasons, or just Americans are just following the herd because they're doing it because their parents did it or their sister did it.
Right. They're in that box and they don't want to step out of the box
Because they don't have the information.
because they don't have the information. So what are the 7 reasons that you're saying that circumcision would impact a man's or a young boy's mental health status?
Well, there's a number of psychologists have commented on this issue, on how circumcision affects both babies and men later on in life psychologically.
So let's start with babies first.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's extremely painful, and circumcision is a trauma, and a trauma is an exceptional, painful event that overwhelms a baby.
So do you think that because it's traumatic at infant, at the time of them being a baby, that PTSD could occur later on in life?
It has been suggested that it does, because what is post-traumatic stress disorder, that is the individual reliving that experience. And when there's a trigger, it causes anxiety, and they re-go through that thing. So for instance, if a baby was circumcised, when he gets vaccinated and he feels that needle stick, to him, that's the circumcision happening again.
Okay, you see my face, right? Because as a baby, they don't know really that something is happening. I mean, yeah, they're screaming, but how are they able to remember something that happened to them 2, 3, 4, 8, 9 days later?
That's a good point, because in a baby, the first parts of a baby's brain that develop is called the limbic brain, which is the hippocampus and the amygdala. And these parts of the brain are responsible for emotion, decision-making, and memories. And so this gets imprinted into the baby's brain when he's going through the circumcision. Now, the thing is, people think circumcision is just a snip, but it's not, because if you just did just a snip, the baby would bleed to death. It's a process where the foreskin is actually ripped off and crushed to cause the blood to clot inside the skin, and it goes on for about 15 minutes.
Ooh.
So it's not just that, like, doctors don't take a scissor and snip it. They have to strap the baby down in a contraption.
Is that what you have over there?
Well, what we have here is it's a diorama, a 3D diorama of an infant circumcision, exactly as it is done in a hospital. And the baby's strapped down what they call the circumstraint board, so he can't move. He's spread eagle. And at this part of the process, the clamp or the device has been attached to his penis. It has crushed his foreskin, and they keep that on until the blood has coagulated inside the skin. So this is like, if you got your finger caught in the car door, we're going to keep that car door shut until the bleeding stops.
Ow.
That's what happens. It's not just a snip. This goes on. And that most doctors don't use anesthesia during any part of the process.
No, because the baby is just born. Why would they give him anesthesia, right?
Because the American Academy of Pediatrics has stated that pain relief is crucial when doing any medical procedure to a baby.
Okay. So I have 2 sons. Well, my husband and I have 2 sons, married 31 years. One son is 25, the other one is 28. They were both circumcised. They probably don't have any idea as to what happened to them. So will you show us?
Well, first I want to say, as a mother, you made the best decision you could back then with the information you had.
Yeah.
So you can't blame yourself one way or the other. Should I have done it? Should I have not done it? Because you can't go and change the past.
Oh, yeah, I don't blame myself.
But going forward, foreskin is all about the future.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just look forward and let's talk what we can do to the next generation of
Let's
kids.
do that.
Okay.
That's right, because they're going to have children.
Exactly.
And so let's see. So would you show us?
Well,
From an infant standpoint, and then we could talk about the psychological from infancy to teenage to men.
right. If doctors tell you they're going to give a baby anesthesia, this is what they use.
What is that?
This is a tube of cream. It's called Emla cream.
May I see?
Sure. That actually came from a maternity ward. And
Lidocaine.
yeah, it's lidocaine and prilocaine. And they rub it on the baby's penis. And you know what? If you put some on your finger, you'd feel absolutely nothing. Okay? But they can go back and tell the parents, yeah, we used anesthesia. That's what they used. The proper way to do it is with lidocaine injections, which incidentally, if you had a dermatology procedure, lidocaine burns
Oh, yeah.
like a son of a gun.
Yeah.
So they have to give the baby multiple lidocaine injections, and even the lidocaine only lasts for a short period of time before it wears off, and the wound is still there. So the baby's going to feel pain. He's going to feel a lot of it, and he's going to feel it for a long time.
Well, he's probably in pain if he strapped down spread eagle anyway.
Well,
Right?
Well, just the process of strapping a baby down surely upsets them a
Yeah.
lot, But it gets even worse because not only does the baby feel the pain of the crushing and the physical pain, I think they almost instinctively know, like, hey, what are you doing to me? Why are you taking off part of my body? I think I need that. And this is being taken away from them.
All right, so can we jump to it and
Well,
show?
we don't have the power hooked up because there was technical issues.
Technical issues, okay, but that's okay. But there's a really good demonstration right here. So the baby is strapped down. Let's talk
Okay.
through it. Baby is strapped down.
Okay, so the first thing that would be done is if they use this cream, if they even bothered to do it,
Okay.
they would take this device, that long pointy device,
Yes.
and that's called the circumcision probe.
Okay.
And because what happens is the foreskin is on the head of the penis and it's attached like your fingernail is to your finger, so they got to separate that.
Okay.
So they got to take that probe and go all the way around and tear off the adhesions. So that's very painful just right off the bat. And the babies are screaming when that's happening. I've been doing this for a long time, as I said, and I speak to a lot of nurses and doctors, and on the maternity floor, when they're doing this and they line all the babies up to those, they can hear the baby screaming down the hallway, blood-curdling screams.
Aww.
Okay? So it hurts a lot. And some doctors will come out and they'll tell the parents, your baby slept right through it. No, he didn't sleep through it. He's in shock.
Okay, so that was so there's a little element of BS there.
Don't worry, he slept right through it.
Okay.
You think they're going to come back and say your baby screamed for his dear life for 15 minutes?
So how long does this procedure take? Because I want to get to the 7 reasons.
Okay, well, the actual procedure is about 15 minutes, but after they separate the adhesions and get the foreskin separated from the glans penis, they will take a scissors and cut a dorsal cut up the top of the foreskin. Okay, because they need to do that in order to apply this device, which is called a Gomco clamp. It's a crushing device. And this penis, the foreskin is brought through the hole in the base plate with this metal bell. And it's brought through there, and then they tighten that screw, which applies about 10 tons of force because it's a lever. And the foreskin is inside there, and it gets crushed. Okay, and that's when the baby really screams. And they have to keep that clamp on until the blood has coagulated under the skin. And then they can then take the scalpel and cut around it, hence the word circumcision, to cut around.
Right.
But it's really genital cutting. And they remove the foreskin, which in this diorama would be in these forceps right here. And then eventually, or when the doctor is confident bleeding has stopped, he'll remove the clamp and he'll apply Vaseline to the wound.
And the baby is still screaming.
Baby's screaming, whimpering,
Okay.
saying basically, get me the heck out of here.
All right. So the 7 ways that circumcision damages your mental health. Number 1.
Well, number 1 is the trauma we spoke about.
Okay.
The baby's brain is signaling the adrenal glands to pump cortisol into the brain. Cortisol is damaging to brain cells.
Yeah.
So you got the cortisol, you got the PTSD, you got all this trauma we're putting a baby through. And the sad thing is it's for no benefit.
Okay.
It's for no benefit. More than 20 medical associations in the world say this is not recommended to do. Okay? So that's what happens to babies. Then you have the botch rates. There was a study done in Utah recently, just this last year. They looked at the insurance databases, which when it comes to studying medical data, that's the most accurate because you can look at Medicaid and you can look at private insurance.
Right.
You get all the billing codes. They looked at that and they found an 11.5% of severe complications or botches where things went wrong. So things that can go wrong could be infection, excessive bleeding, where the baby has to come back and need sutures, where you're putting the baby all through this all over again.
Really?
Adhesions, where the skin sticks, part of the skin sticks over to the penis, and it makes like a bridge like almost like a rubber band of skin that's
Okay.
reattached itself. There's more severe symptoms called buried penis, where they cut too much off and the penis actually retracts, so it looks like the baby almost doesn't have a penis
Oh,
anymore.
geez.
And then it gets even worse than that. There was on Long Island, North Shore Hospital, one of the top hospitals in Long Island, with a prominent doctor, Dr. Aaron Davison. He botched 2 babies in a row,
Oh no, you blowing him up on the Dr. Joy show.
took off the end of their penis, decided that
gosh.
the end of the penis was not salvageable, and threw it in the medical waste. These babies are disfigured for life. How would you like it if you had to go in every relationship in your future life
And you had to
you've
explain.
got damaged genitals?
Right.
Part
yeah,
of it
that's
is just not
good.
there.
That's not good. So now let's move from so you did number 1. I'm sure you touched number 2. What's the third? What's the third way that it damages mental health?
Well, as a young man grows up, and this is never talked about, your parents don't say, have a sit down. You know, we circumcised you, and here are the reasons why we did it.
Okay. No.
No one talks about it.
No.
It's just,
It's just done.
it's water under the bridge.
Right.
So the young man grows up, and he starts to wonder, you know, why do I have this scar on my penis that nobody's talking about? It doesn't look like it belongs there. I know I experienced that. Why do I have a scar on my penis that nobody talks about? And then my experiences, whether it was seeing the statues in Europe or my buddies in the military that were foreign born,
Right.
I said, why do they have something that I don't have? No one's talking about it. I'm being lied to. And I think there's a sense of mistrust. You know,
So peer pressure, you think, would come into play as these young boys are growing up in locker rooms? Football, basketball, track and field, you know, anything where there's locker room presence.
I don't know that there's peer pressure to be cut or uncut one way or the other. You know, I was
Teased, though, bullied.
I was in a lot of locker rooms and barracks and things. We didn't look at each other's penises, and we
Okay.
certainly didn't comment on them.
Okay.
So I think this is one of those silly arguments people bring up that they need to worry about something that's really not an issue. Because, you know, right now the circumcision rate is probably right around 50-50 when you look at the nationwide rates.
Okay.
The CDC, which is the Centers of Disease Control, their last survey in 2012, which is a long time ago already, had the rate
yeah.
at 56% circumcision. Okay, so, and the rates have been declining based on the research that we've been doing. So I think that we're at the point where there's going to be as many intact penises in the locker room as there are circumcised penises. So I think this thing about people worrying about bullying or comments, I think it's like
But when
a
you
weird
have,
argument.
but now, let's fast forward and you're in a relationship, whether it's same sex, whether it's heterosexual, and person sees that, what happens?
well, you
Or
know,
what could happen?
well, you know, a lot of women don't even know the difference because when a man is erect, the foreskin retracts, and you don't even see the foreskin. So maybe afterwards or some other time,
Right.
maybe she might see it or he might see it.
Right.
But you know, you may not even notice a difference.
Okay.
And a lot of circumcised men don't even know that they're circumcised. Because we speak to a lot of people and we ask them, are you circumcised or not? And they don't even know. Or they think they're intact, but they're actually circumcised. They don't have the facts. They have to go online and look at some pictures.
Well, what about you go to a physician for your physical every year? Wouldn't they tell you?
Well, I guess if you specifically ask the doctor, but usually when you go for your physical, you want to know what your
Yeah.
lipids are. And
Right, that's right. Yeah,
your
you know,
blood
the whole
pressure.
blood, your blood panel. So let's talk about some of the other reasons.
You know, some of the other things is later on in life, circumcision can cause sexual dysfunction later in life.
Really?
Study done in Denmark found over 10%. Circumcised men had 10% higher rate of sexual dysfunction over their intact counterparts.
So that means that they would need Viagra or some kind of assistance later on, more so than not?
they could need that, or they just expressed overall dissatisfaction with their performance, whether it's sensation. You understand, the foreskin has 20,000 nerve endings. That's why it's so special.
Right.
Circumcision takes that all away. I like to tell people this. If you're circumcised, you have it's like having a 10 megapixel camera. Now, you can take a damn good picture with a 10 megapixel camera.
Yeah.
But if you're intact, you have a 25 megapixel camera. Ooh. You get much more definition. You can feel where you're at and what's going on a lot better. So,
wow. Yeah. Even through a condom.
You know, intact men are going to have an easier time using condoms because they have more sensation to start with. And if you wear a condom that's a little bit loose, it can actually help the foreskin slide back and forth, which is where all the action is. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about,
you know?
Yeah.
So intact men actually have a better time with condoms than their circumcised counterparts. Because if you're circumcised, you put a condom on, there's no movement going on at all. You've just covered over everything. Mm-hmm. So so cut guys can have more problems with condoms than intact guys.
So now, okay.
So which leads to, you know, it helps decrease STDs, because if you're going to be less resistant to wearing a condom, you're going to be better protected.
Wait, state that one more time.
That intact men are going to have potentially lower STD rates because they'll be more likely to use a condom because it's much less of an impediment than a circumcised guy would have to face.
Okay. Wow. All right. So now, I think you stated 56% are cut. So.
And it's decreasing.
Yeah, and it's decreasing. Wow. So how do we, or what are your thoughts about mitigating any risks of diseases that they're talking about on the internet and everything else?
Yeah, those are all either pop science studies or red herrings. European men have lower rates of all STDs, HPV, HIV than Americans do. And Americans have a higher circumcision rate. So why is that the case?
Yeah.
Even the American Academy of Pediatrics, the AAP for short, they've taken up the mantle as being the institution of record over issuing circumcision policy statements in America. Mm-hmm. Most STDs, even in their 2012 policy report, it says that circumcision offers no protection, and there's no difference in the studies they looked at between circumcised men and intact men. HPV, they specifically said, the worry about HPV is that it can cause cervical cancer.
Right.
Okay. They found that women with intact partners and circumcised partners, there's no difference in cervical cancer rates.
Really?
Okay. Number one. Number two, HPV is transmitted by skin. Mm-hmm. It could be the mouth, it could be the vagina, it could be the rectum. It's any skin HPV can reside on, not just foreskin. Mm-hmm. Okay, so how many things are we going to start cutting off to try to prevent the disease? And even the AAP acknowledged that we now have the HPV vaccine. And they said even if there was any difference, that people, as the vaccine use becomes more prevalent, that HPV is going to drop off the radar screen. So
tell me about this. The Intact Dude's Guide, here, you hold it, it's yours. The Intact Dude's Guide to Foreskin Superpowers. It's a comic strip, right?
It's a comic strip. We designed it for parents of intact sons to give it to their sons, because at our events, we're around, we're all over the place. We're very foreskin positive in our messaging, and parents of intact sons were coming up to us and looking for literature, because we give out a lot of different types of literature. They said, do you have anything I can give to my son that can help build their confidence or show them how important it is to have foreskin?
So let's open it up so then that way the viewers can see that there is a comic strip and there's some dialogue between... Who's the dialogue between the person that's intact, and is this the girlfriend?
The son and the parents.
The son and the parents.
Right, and the son is excited that he just found out that foreskin has superpowers.
Oh.
And the parents go through and they explain to him why they kept him intact, and to be body positive, that this is the way nature designed our bodies to be, and you should be proud of that. And if anyone tries to disparage that, that's their problem. It's not your problem, because they may feel that being cut, the way to help assuage their feelings about being cut is to pick on a guy that's intact.
That's right.
Okay?
Yeah, it's a bully. It's
Yeah.
a bully tactic. So 4 powers of foreskin: pleasure, protection, lubrication, and connection, because you get to feel it.
You get to feel more. It's your body's intact, and you're connecting with your intact partner.
So, Anthony, how can people find you?
Well, we have our website, intaction.org, INTACTION. We're also on Facebook.
And you do a lot of speaking, right?
I do a lot of speaking. We do public events where we interact. That's our main thing that we do. The main form of advocacy is we have a mobile unit where we travel around.
Really?
We set up exhibits. Like, this is one of our exhibits.
Right.
We have other exhibits also.
So what events do you have coming up in 2019?
2019, we're in Union Square, New York City, at least once a month, sometimes twice a month. We'll be at the Brooklyn Mermaid Parade, a very popular event.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Yes.
So we'll be there. And we're at other places that we'll list on our website if people want to connect with us and speak to us. If they have questions, you can get an answer face to face. You can speak to either myself or our other advocates. We're all very experienced in this material and engaging with people.
Anthony, what is your proudest accomplishment at this point?
You know, we talk to so many people out there, and I do especially, and I had a mom come up to us at one of our events. She had 2 sons, maybe similar to like yourself.
Okay.
And she looked at this baby exhibit, and she looked at some of our literature, and she turned to her sons and she said, "I'm sorry that I did this to you.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what it was about." So that was like so powerful to see a mom just, you know.
How old were the sons? Do you remember?
They were about between 8 and 10.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, and you know, and they took it well, and but that was just so powerful. I had another mother that she saw all of our information, and she kept her son intact, but he was older now. He was like in his 30s, and she says, "You know, I always worried that I didn't do the right thing, that I should have had him circumcised, and it was bothering her for so long."
For 30
But
years.
she thought she didn't give her son the right level of care, and when she got all of her information, it was like a weight off of her shoulders.
Wow.
She said, I did do the right thing
So
after all.
So after finding out, getting the information that you provided, her internal conflict reduced instantly, probably.
It sure did. You know, and what I like to tell people is that, you know, Dr. Joy, foreskin, it's in our DNA. Mm-hmm. Nature intended us to have it.
Mm-hmm. So why take it away?
It's there for a reason. It's part of what makes us human. You know, it's there for a reason.
So is there anything else, as we close, is there anything else that you want to share with me and my viewers?
I just want your viewers to get more educated on the subject and talk about it with friends. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I hope they appreciate that foreskin is just awesome. It's an awesome thing to have. We should celebrate
awesome
it.
4 powers, right?
It's got 4 powers.
Website again.
Intaction.org.
Spell it for him.
INTACTION. Like our Facebook page, sign up on our website. If your listeners really believe in our mission and what we're trying to accomplish, we're all privately funded, small donations from people.
Okay.
Please come to our website and give us a donation so we can try to save the next generation of kids.
Anthony, I want to thank you for being a guest on the Dr. Joy Show and sharing this information that I didn't know anything about. And I'm sure a lot of my viewers, this is intriguing info. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll have you back because I'm sure there'll be a part 2, right?
There's so much to this to talk about. There's so much.
Okay, we'll set that up. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, be blessed. Stay healthy. See ya! Are we still live? Oh, all right. Yo, that was great.
Okay.
That was great.
Good.
Yeah.